There is no end to the Congress's implosion in Punjab. Add to that the rebellion brewing in Chhattisgarh and Rajasthan. But it's not just the internal politics that is paralyzing the party. External enemies are out to take advantage of a diminishing opposition party. At least 9 Congress leaders from Goa, including a former Chief Minister, have switched to the Trinamool Congress. This after Congress young gun Sushmita Dev switched sides. The question is, who is hurting the Congress more?
He's not the Congress's captain anymore. Humiliated by the Gandhis, Amarinder Singh has decided to part ways after a 4-decade-long association. And while his meeting with Home Minister Amit Shah has triggered massive political buzz,
जिसको पंजाब के किसान, पंजाब के लोग, पंजाब का विरोधी मानते हैं, वो श्री अमरिंदर सिंह जी को मुखौटे के तौर पर प्रयोग करना चाहते हैं, उपयोग करना चाहते हैं। उस कोशिश को वो नकारें।
Sources say that the captain is likely to float his own political party soon.
Number one, I am not going to remain in the Congress. Number two, I am not joining the BJP. That is enough for me at the moment.
Amarinder Singh's party is set to be launched within the next 15 days, and nearly a dozen Congress leaders are said to be in touch with him. The word is that the captain may also meet some farmer leaders. One thing's for sure, the captain's new innings will certainly hurt the Congress in Punjab. In 2 other Congress-ruled states too, things are far from okay. In Chhattisgarh, Congress Minister T.S. Deo is waiting to dethrone Chief Minister Bhupesh Baghel, and in Rajasthan, Sachin Pilot is demanding his pound of Gehlot's flesh. The implosion has raised serious questions about the Gandhis' leadership and also the Congress's status as a credible opposition party. On Wednesday, former Goa Chief Minister and veteran Congress leader Luisino Falero joined the Trinamool Congress.
We are getting charged, we are ready to defeat the BJP who is trying to have the culture of intolerance, culture of hatred, culture of vengeance, culture of vendetta.
So who's really hurting the Congress? Prominent Rahul Gandhi loyalists have joined the BJP in the last few months. The Congress and BJP were in a direct fight in 186 out of 543 seats in the 2019 Lok Sabha elections. The Congress won a dismal 15. With 3 crucial state elections just months away, the Congress is paralyzed by an internal war and external enemies who won't let the party rest even for a moment. It's literally now a question of survival. Bureau Report, India Today.
Meanwhile, in a big escalation, the Congress officially has taken on Captain Amarinder Singh in Punjab after he made his intentions clear, saying that he won't be staying on in the party. A statement put out by the Congress, presumably with the full backing of the Gandhi family, called Captain a stubborn person who ran the government from his farmhouse. A furious Captain hit back. Here's the latest.
From the moment he made it clear, it was his intention to take the fight to his rivals.
I am not going to remain in the Congress.
Captain Amarinder Singh has been on a roll, firing one missile after another aimed at the Gandhis.
कई प्रधान रहे हैं. ये जो हाल जो सिद्धू ने बनाया एक पहले कभी नहीं था.
But after a series of pointed attacks, the Congress party has said enough is enough. The Gandhis, speaking through their emissary Harish Rawat, have unleashed their anger. In a stinging attack, the Congress party has said the captain was admitted in the Congress despite a crushing defeat he suffered from Patiala constituency in 1998. They say Amarinder failed to keep his election promises and was controlling the government and the party from his farmhouse. Then there is more. The Gandhis have described Captain Amarinder Singh as a stubborn individual who never paid heed to anyone's advice. They also cite complaints by several MLAs saying Captain cannot win Punjab elections.
कैप्टन साहब की भी कुछ वही बेहतर जानते होंगे कि
आखिर कुछ तो होंगी मजबूरियां, कोई यूं ही बेवफा नहीं होता। अब वो मजबूरियां क्या हैं ये कैप्टन साहब जानते होंगे या पुराने लोग जानते होंगे।
Captain Amarinder Singh rejected the Congress's charge, terming it outrageous. Amarinder has proclaimed that Congress is on a back foot now, and only pressure he had for the past month was his loyalty to the Congress party. All of this comes at a time when there is suspense about Captain's next move. India today has learned that Amarinder Singh is likely to float his own party. He had earlier declared he will not let Navjot Singh Sidhu win at any cost.
Sidhu is not the right man for Punjab, and अगर वो लड़ेगा, जहाँ से भी लड़ेगा, मैं उसको नहीं जीतने दूँगा.
After Amarinder Singh decided to part ways with the Congress party, ending a 4-decade-long association, the Gandhis have now hit back. The first family of the Congress are under tremendous pressure, with many from the old guard questioning the decision-making process. The stinging statement on Amarinder is also a message to them. With Manjeet Sehgal in Chandigarh, Kamaljeet Sandhu in Patiala and Anand Patel in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
So what's hurting the Congress party more? Is it its own inability to keep its house in order? Is it the design and the intent of parties like the Trinamool, the Aam Aadmi Party that are sensing weakness, trying to expand their political turf? Is it the BJP and the kind of opposition that the Narendra Modi-led BJP presents? And where does the party go from here? Will it just keep diminishing, or will there be a point when there is a pushback against the Gandhi family? Joining us on this broadcast, representing the Congress on this broadcast, is Salman Nizami, political analyst, supports and leans towards the Congress. With us from the BJP is GVL Narasimha Rao. And on this broadcast are two people who've seen the Congress from within and now for various reasons are outside the party. Sanjay Jha joins us, as does Saket Gokhale, who as a young, bright, feisty activist was trying to make space for himself in the Congress, found that wasn't going well and now is with the Trinamool Congress. I want to go across to Saket Gokhale first on this broadcast, because as somebody who's seen the Congress from within till quite recently, as somebody who was trying for several years to make space for yourself, when you see the Congress implode in the way that it is, who do you think is to blame? What do you think is going wrong? I ask this question in the context of Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, the Congress strongman from West Bengal, calling Mamata Banerjee the BJP's Trojan horse, saying that she's doing this essentially at the behest of the BJP. Laughable as it is, that's what Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary is saying.
Thanks, Rahul. I mean, it's interesting, you know, that times like these, there is everybody to blame but what's happening within the Congress party. They'll find a way to blame Mamata Banerjee, find a way to blame somebody else. But the bottom line really is that there seems to be a lack of will, you know, that to take on the BJP aggressively, a lack of, you know, cohesion. You know, who decides the strategy, who is in charge of the party. The Congress party has had an interim president now for about 3 years. And the term interim is supposed to mean interim. But, you know, currently it's unclear as to who is in charge of the Congress party. We've seen Mr. Sibal hold a press conference. I mean, of course, it's their party's internal matter. But your party's youth cadre coming out and heckling and trying to attack the house of your own Rajya Sabha MP does not really set a good precedent, does not show that your house is in order. So before Mr. Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary points fingers, you know, I mean, he is the sole cause that the Congress has been decimated in West Bengal. And, you know, so it's easy for him to now throw his, you know, the blame on other people. But at the end of the day, these were the choices that the Congress party made to appoint people like Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, to put them in positions of power, to make an alliance with whoever they made an alliance with, while fighting against them in Kerala.
Salman Nizami, so, now it's interesting that someone like Saket Gokhale is on this broadcast, because a few months ago, he could have been you, holding on, braving the odds, hoping that one day the tide would turn. And he'd wonder, as would others watching this broadcast, if a few months from now, you could be the next Saket Gokhale or Luzaro Falero or somebody else who jumps ship because the level of frustration reaches a point with the lack of direction.
Just a clarification. I never jumped ship. I was never a member or an office bearer of the Congress party. The Trinamool Congress is the first party that I'm a member and official member of.
But you did work very closely with the Congress. Anyway, I'll leave that on the side for the moment. Salman Nizami, you know, everyone has a level of patience beyond which they say enough is enough. And I cite Saket's example because for a while he would have believed that there would have been a pathway for him within the Congress, as would have someone like a Sushmita Dev or a Priyanka Chaturvedi. Now they've decided enough is enough.
Well, Rahul, let me be very honest. Well, what is happening within the party is sad, but whatever issues Congress will crash out in the CWC meeting, which will be...
When is this CWC meeting? Ghulam Nabi Azad had to write to Sonia Gandhi to ask for a meeting. There is no structural mechanism which allows for frequent conversations.
Mr. Surjewala has given a statement that very soon there will be a CWC meeting.
Someone as senior and as experienced as former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram reaches a point of frustration where he says that there is no meaningful dialogue happening within the Congress. There is no forum where you can raise these questions, and that the only option someone like him has is silence.
Well, this is Mahatma Gandhi's Congress, where freedom of expression matters, not like BJP, where two-man's dictatorship works. Here, unity works. And a second, yes, the fight against BJP is big. It's against communism. It's against hate. And we should not waste our time in these things, which we are doing right now. But I'm confident that things will improve. And let me clear here, divided we continue the same cycle. Together we fight new battles. And united we can win. So I think these issues will be raised in the CWC. And these issues will be sorted out soon.
Saket, you want to make a quick interjection before I go across to... Yeah, go on.
Look, I mean, you know, it's at the end of the day, the reason we managed to defeat the BJP the way we did in West Bengal, even when Mr. Modi and Shah were faced, is because, as Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee always says, she's a grassroots cadre. Okay, she's the chairperson of the party, but she's still connected to the grassroots. In the Trinamool Congress today, I can reach out to my leaders. If there is a question, if there is discussions, I would like to ask within the Congress party, why was Mr. Sibal forced to come out? Is the leadership of the Congress party accessible even to their own senior leaders?
This is why GVL Narasimha Rao is sitting smug on the show, because he doesn't need to say very much. Those who've been associated with the Congress or supported the Congress are now the fiercest critics of the Congress, and therefore does it in fact enthrall you? Is it something that you're very happy with, the fact that the Trinamool and the Aam Aadmi Party are going about setting up outposts in Tripura, in Goa, and the more the opposition vote gets split, the better it is arguably for the BJP?
No, Rahul, certainly the developments in the Congress party over the past few months and more so in the past few weeks clearly show that this party is on the verge of complete annihilation, if not extinction. And it's all self-inflicted extinction, because self-initiated within the Congress party. It has nothing to do with the BJP, for that matter, any other party. They simply are not connected with the mood of the people today. The Congress party thrived, survived at a time when possibly there was no strong alternative in terms of a political party. And certainly today's BJP does not has governed the center and the state so well. The people certainly are looking for...
if your opposition is weak... One second, sir. If the BJP... just one second. If I can draw a cricketing analogy to say, if India is up against Zimbabwe, and then you say India has batted so well that it won, that's one thing. If India is up against a fair competitor like an Australia or an England, and then you win, it's different. So whether you're doing a fabulous job and that's why you're being voted back, or whether you're doing a fair job, but the opposition is so weak that they simply can't challenge you, because where you were challenged, for example, in West Bengal, people didn't necessarily think very highly of your government, sir.
No, Rahul, in the past, the Congress certainly looked like Australia, but it's because we are performing so well and people are so happy with our governance at the center and in the states. They certainly, the Congress has been reduced to a very marginal player. And in fact, I think more than the cricketing analogy, although it may sound a little outlandish, I think what you're seeing in the Congress party today is an Afghan kind of a situation, where everybody is running to really get onto the plane to get out of the Congress. Because that's the kind of statements that you're seeing from the Congress leadership. There is a strong urge to really exit the Congress party.
Okay.
And it's all internal. It has nothing to do with the BJP, and their spokespersons are also missing. I normally find on your show senior Congress spokespersons coming on your show with a great deal of enthusiasm, but I find from television channels they have also left because they don't know which side of the fence
they don't know which side they'll be padding up in some time from now. Now, one second, Sanjay Jha.
That's what I'm saying.
No, one second. Okay, Saket, hold that because I must go across to Sanjay Jha. He's been waiting to jump into this conversation as well. I can't have one party, no matter how feisty, hog the show. So, Sanjay Jha, are you concerned about the diminishing of the Congress to a point where parties like the Trinamool start to look like real competitors in states like Tripura, maybe in Goa as well? Arguably, in Gujarat, the AAP has been creeping. In Punjab, the AAP has been gaining its strength. And over a period of time, if things continue under Rahul Gandhi's watch in the way that they are, that the Congress diminishes so much that whether it exists or doesn't exist doesn't really matter.
Well, Rahul, the tragic commentary is that the Congress party is still looked upon by large sections of the opposition, including the TMC, by the way, and the public of India as the only, shall we say, platform that can take on a very belligerent Bharatiya Janata Party. And as some of the panelists have spoken earlier, I mean, I believe that the Congress-led opposition can defeat the BJP. And I don't want to go into the laundry list of failures of Mr. Modi's government, whether it's COVID, unemployment, inflation, the state of the economy, sectarian stripes. I mean, that's all there for the world to see. But I can't blame GVL today for his schadenfreude or for, gloating at the kind of predicament the Congress finds itself in. And I'll tell you why I'm disappointed. And I have been saying this for a long time, and people in the Congress have called me a renegade, a rebel, and somebody who sits in Mumbai and just pontificates, which is such a rubbish. Because the truth is, we care. I mean, I have not moved to any other party.
Have you been approached by the Trinamool Congress? IPACs, boys and girls reaching out to you as well, saying, "Wahan to kuch nahi ho raha, yahan aa jao"?
No, listen, I'm not going to talk about all that.
No, just answer a straight question. Are you being approached by parties like the Trinamool to join them, Sanjay? Don't dodge it.
No. All I'm going to say is that, listen, some of us are out here to battle. And I'll tell you, I need to say this. I'm very disappointed with Rahul, and I've known Rahul for a long time. Rahul's statements where he says, people leave, it's okay, it's an ideological battle. But I can tell you, people like, whether it's Jyotiraditya, Jitin, Saket himself, whoever, I mean, I have seen people very passionately committed. We have fought for the party during the most difficult times. As a leader, you've got to hold your team together. Rahul, just do a list of the number of people who have left the Congress, okay? Whether it's Sushmita, Priyanka, whoever. All these are people who have fought for the party tooth and nail through extremely trying circumstances. For Rahul to say it's okay for you to go and to call us as opportunists, I think is extremely, in my opinion, absurd. Because as a leader, you've got to keep your team together. Politics is about people. Principles are ultimately exercised on the ground.
No, but people. Sanjay, do you feel... So, Sanjay, a lot of what you're saying, there's a sense of deja vu in. You've been on the show earlier, you've said similar things and kind of, it's like a stuck tape where you keep saying the same things. It's the same analysis with the same kind of people and nothing changes. Do you think we're now reaching a point where there will be a pushback against Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi? Or do you think congressmen, being just the way that they are, will fret and fume, be frustrated behind private quarters, leave in some cases like Saket has and Priyanka or others, but not necessarily rebel against the leadership?
Well, there are two short responses to that. Number one, I do also believe that those who oppose the Gandhi family, and rightfully so, because I think it's okay. You know, I believe there's so much of hullabaloo within the Congress and the diminishing political brand of the Gandhis. It happens to everybody. It's no big deal. Rahul works hard, he's sincere, etc. If it hasn't worked electorally, if tomorrow Rahul Gandhi takes a back seat, it doesn't make any difference. He's still a former Congress president. He will still campaign for the party, and he could still tomorrow hold very key pivotal positions. I don't know why people are not comprehending that within the Congress. On the second hand, I also agree with you, Rahul, that whether it's a G23 or the others in the Congress, you need to put up candidates and talk about them. I also, you know, the Congress is not really even talking about who could be alternative leaders. I have put my neck out in the past and said, back a Sachin Pilot, back a Manish Sashi, create a team of 3 or 4 people, even have Priyanka in it in the mix. There's nothing wrong. But I think Rahul, in all honesty, I will tell you, Rahul Gandhi is a good man, okay? But his problem is that his political capital is diminished because the BJP has destroyed it.
No,
and if Rahul takes a
but Salman Nizami, now here's the problem. Rahul Gandhi is damaged goods, partly on account of his own failures, partly on account of the BJP's vituperative attacks against him. The fact is, politically, trying to revive the Rahul Gandhi brand is an impossible, near impossible ask. It's much easier to revive the Congress brand than it is to revive the Rahul Gandhi brand, because it kind of makes you say, okay, we've heard what voters are saying, we've done away with our failures, with our past, we're trying to build afresh, which is what political parties do the world over when voters reject a particular set of leadership or a particular set of ideas. Except the Congress doesn't get politics 101.
Well, let me clear here that every leader's contribution matters in the party. Be it Rahul Gandhi, he has worked so hard on the ground, and he is the only man. Without any fear, he is fighting against BJP, against these communal forces. Likewise, there are so many leaders like Ghulam Nabi Azad, like Shashi Tharoor. Ghulam Nabi Azad is the man who has faced 25 terror attacks in Kashmir. And he stood with Congress when no one was ready to hold Congress flag. He was the one who campaigned for Congress during the time of militancy in Kashmir, in Punjab. So we need to take all the leaders on board. And these leaders have sacrifices. They have their own role, be it Dipinder Singh Hooda or Hooda or Shashi Tharoor, Ghulam Nabi Azad. So we need to sit and sort out these issues. Then only we can fight these communal forces.
Sakib, as someone who's seen the politics of Rahul Gandhi at relatively close quarters, do you believe that's a brand that can still be revived? Or do you believe the longer he stays in this indecisive phase, where he's neither jumping in as president nor walking out, the worse he makes it for the Congress, Sakib?
No, I've noticed this for a long time, that the BJP found a very soft target, in Mr. Gandhi, and it becomes easy to pin all the blame on him. But at the same time, there are other questions. There are other questions such as, for example, you spoke about Mr. Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary. You can't blame Mr. Rahul Gandhi for Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary's failure in West Bengal completely. That was it. That was a decision that he made as the PCC president. See, second thing also is what the BJP needs to realize before Narasimha Rao gloats too much. You need to understand that tomorrow the Congress will, in some way or the other, hopefully get its house together. We will look after our own house. But the bottom line is, at the end of the day, the BJP should remember that the common enemy that we are fighting is still the BJP. The TMC is not fighting the Indian National Congress. The Congress is not an enemy of the TMC. We are fighting a common enemy.
But you are damaging the Congress's prospects. It's not quite that simple, because the more the TMC proliferates in states like Tripura, in states like Goa and elsewhere, the more you damage the Congress party. You're saying GVL Narasimha Rao is gloating, he's happy, the happier he'll be.
Rahul, you were tracking the Bengal elections. Please tell me how many seats BJP had won and how many MLAs they have now. How many of their MLAs have come and joined the Trinamool Congress? Babul Supriyo, sitting Lok Sabha member of parliament from Asansol, left the BJP and joined the Trinamool Congress. So it's not like we're going out and poaching people only from the Congress. Our doors are open to everybody that wants to come and fight against the anti-people BJP.
Is it possible at all, GVL, and does that thought worry you, that if this continues in the way that it is, clearly Prashant Kishore at this moment also associated professionally with the Trinamool Congress. They are opening the doors to the likes of Luciano Falero, to Sushmita Deb, to Saket Gokhale, the others, that if this builds up in narrative, the Trinamool Congress will, at least on TV, even if it can't build a cadre on the ground very quickly, will at least on TV come across as the most forceful opposition to the BJP, GVL?
First of all, let me say this. We work according to our strengths. We succeed, we win, we are coming back to power at the center repeatedly because of our strengths, not because of anybody's weaknesses. We don't even consider that. So we are certainly going to leverage our own strengths even further going forward in 2024. And parties like TMC, we clearly see them as one-state parties and one-time wonder. We certainly don't expect. They have every right to try.
How many states
does the BJP have a majority in? Any state, but this is a party that won't win anything beyond the one state. We have said, I did not interrupt anybody, Rahul. Please ask him to have patience. Okay, you have seen how AAP succeeded very well in the first election in Delhi, but when they went out and they flopped everywhere, then they took a lot of time for them to really find their feet in one or two states. So it's not easy. So certainly a big victory for Mamata might have enthused her, but I certainly find that she will certainly flop. TMC will, please have patience. I think don't interject like this.
We don't purchase MLAs and call it
whatever you say. And Rahul, I don't like this on your.
No, one second. Saket Gokhale. Yes, I know you're trying to be the real opposition to the Congress. Yes, I know Salman Nizami is not in full form because of the mess that his party finds himself in. But allow GVL the courtesy to complete his point. GVL.
Yeah, so we certainly, my own assessment is TMC cannot find anything beyond its state. Maybe in some Bengali-speaking areas outside Bengal, they might be able to put up a fight. But otherwise, they will certainly not, they will bomb. Like Aam Aadmi Party could not find a strong presence anywhere outside Delhi. It has taken them almost now 6-7 years to be in a contesting position in one or two states. Like other regional parties, these are restricted to one state. They cannot really succeed outside.
Saurabh, one second. No, one second. I have a final question to Sanjay Jha. Before I end this discussion, Sanjay, do you see a point where things turn? Rajdeep yesterday was talking about an inevitable split in the Congress, not just Amarinder Singh, but a larger split. Or do you think it'll, keep dragging in the way that it is, chipping away on the sides, disintegrating as a whole, but not coming apart in one dramatic flourish?
All I can tell you right now is I hope not, because everyone in the G23, and they are the people I really, we kind of talk to each other very often. Everyone is ideologically absolutely 100% committed to the Congress. And none of us are people who are transactional and want to just kind of derail the principal mothership party. I don't think that's the intention at all. But I'll tell you the worry that I have. The worry that I have, Rahul, is that several good people who probably are more borderline, who are probably malleable, and might become, victims of Operation Lotus or just find greener pastures will leave. And that will enervate the party to such an extent that by the time you bring reforms, we'll have actually become a very minuscule player. So I think the Congress faces a definite existential crisis. I think we have talked about it on this show very often. Right now, it's a hard reality we can't run away from.
The Titanic hit an iceberg. They didn't see the iceberg and it kind of just went down. Here, you're hitting the iceberg every single day. You're going in further and further, and there's no effort being made to extricate. If at all, you can still get back from that iceberg, but you're going in so far and so deep that it becomes tougher with every passing month to revive the Congress under the leadership of Rahul Gandhi. Unless there is a change in leadership, unless there's a fresh pair of legs, fresh pair of brains to power the party into the future, will there be a revival? That's something for every one of our viewers to think about and have their own opinion about. You decide. I never tell you what to think. We just bring out different points of view and we leave it to you, our viewers, to decide whether or not you think this is the right way to go. I want to thank Sanjay Jha, GVL Narasimha Rao, Saket Gokhale, Salman I know you had a tough time and I appreciate you joining us, especially at a time when most Congress people have padded up, staying in the dressing room, not coming out to play. And it's not their fault. It's above their pay grade because the man who needs to decide can't make up his mind about whether he wants to be Congress president or not. You can't be indecisive, confused in politics. Not in India, not elsewhere. It simply doesn't work like that. You need hunger, you need desire, you need ambition, you need motivation. Rahul Gandhi is demonstrating none of those.